I call the Honourable Mark Patterson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mark Patterson, I think. May I start by congratulating you on your ascension to the chair, and pretty historic for your party as well as yourself. So that's a fine achievement. I'd also like to take this opportunity to congratulate the Right Honourable Christopher Luxon on becoming Prime Minister of New Zealand. It is the highest honour we can afford one of our citizens, and we at New Zealand First have been impressed by the way that he's tackled the task so far, his relationship that he's sought to establish with us. He's been very direct in his expectations. Gone is the fluff and in is the action. Also, David Seymour, the Honourable David Seymour and the ACT Party, and congratulate them on being part of the balance of the coalition. And we look forward to working with you over these next 3 years. I would like to congratulate, as has been said, the new MPs in the House, across the House particularly. In my experience, is anything to go by, no matter how much you've been around this place, until you've sat in these green chairs and had to debate the issues big and small and the gravity of those, and every issue is important to someone somewhere, and some of them are important to everyone, and nothing quite prepares you for that. So enjoy the ride, but it is a big responsibility. I'd like to congratulate particularly the New Zealand First team, Casey Costello, Tania Unkovic, Andy Foster and Jamie Arbuckle. They will be fine contributors to our team. To Ingrid Leary for winning, or just squeaking in, I might say, over myself and Scott Willis in the Taieri Electric. Congratulations, Ingrid, and it's great to see you here. Scott as well, the most rarest of rare species, a practical green. And we've had a bit of a pledge between us. We do have quite a constructive relationship that we will work together on local issues. Ingrid and I have already started on lobbying for some extra funding for a forestry school in Milton. Scott and I have already started on a much more serious matter. He had to bring the suits up from Dunedin that I forgot on Sunday when I headed up to Gisborne. So thank you, Scott. Mr Speaker, New Zealand First is back. And we can thank a lot of people for this, but I think the people we really need to thank are the Labour Party for their increasingly authoritarian stances, their attack on our very democracy, for being out of touch with the working New Zealanders that they purport to represent, for trying to centralise almost everything and running our economy into the rocks to where our economic outlook was sitting at 159 in the world by IMF measures, sitting only just above Equatorial Guinea, that actually happens to be in the middle of a coup at the moment. So the cavalry has arrived in just a nick of time, and the attack on our agricultural community, as the Honourable Nicola Gregg was just outlining before, and I'll get back to shortly, was nothing short of extraordinary. In fact, my decision to stand again for this House was not one that was taken lightly, but when the Labour Party announced that they were prepared to sacrifice 21% of the sheep and beef sector at the altar of a climate change policy, I just could not sit by and take that. So New Zealand First was back, I am back, and I'm sure our farmers are pleased that the coalition government is now in charge, and that sort of policy would never be allowed to pass anywhere near into legislation. So thank you to the voters that turned to New Zealand First for our pragmatic, common sense and egalitarian policy platform. And I must pay tribute to the Right Honourable Winston Peters, one of the most consequential politicians ever to have sat in this House. His leadership, and you've got to realise, when you're a political party outside of Parliament, outside of this platform, to get back into Parliament. The leadership to do that was inspirational, it was totemic, and it was historic. It is probably the one thing that we do have in common with Te Pāti Māori is we're the only parties that have fought our way back from outside Parliament, and the wealth of knowledge that he brings will be to this House will be most needed in this time. But I also must take the chance to acknowledge Derek Ball, Julian Paul, Holly Howard and Dot Jones, who gave their time voluntarily full-time for 3 years without a paycheck to put the structures in place. While Winston's out front and we as politicians are out front, they were laying the foundations, and we stand here, guys, on your shoulders. We need to turn New Zealand round. We need to be lifting our growth. We need to be providing more opportunities, and that is just what we intend to do as a coalition. It is my great honour to have been named and trusted with the responsibility of Minister for Rural Communities and Associate Minister for Agriculture, and I do acknowledge the Honourable Nicola Grigg and the Honourable Andrew Hoggard and the team that Nicola referenced under Todd McClay, the Honourable Todd McClay. We intend to set the agricultural community alight with some common sense and pragmatic stewardship. So, Mr Speaker, we can say that agriculture is back in this House. And it's not only the leadership that I've referenced, but there's, I welcome the gumboot-wearing MPs has been, I think, Wayne Langford, the President of Federated Farmers. It is great to see so many farmers back in this House, and that is a consequence of the uprising from rural New Zealand as they saw that they needed to have some leaders in this House to represent their interests. Rural confidence was at a 20-year low. It didn't come before a nick of time. Agriculture and horticulture are New Zealand's only industries of scale that are internationally competitive. They are incredibly important to this country. The numbers get thrown around time and time again to the point where they seem to not mean anything. But $57 or $8 billion of foreign exchange to an economy that is running a current account deficit could not be more critical. 350,000 New Zealanders directly employed. It is 82% of New Zealand's merchandise export trade. We will champion our farmers and growers, we will respect our farmers and growers, and we will see them as the solution and not the problem. Time goes a bit quicker after 3 years, I've noticed. We do have our challenges, water quality and quantity, our emissions profile from agriculture and how we're going to do that, and getting the right tree in the right place. I am glad to see not only is New Zealand First back in the House, agriculture's back in the House, but will be back in government buildings. It is my favourite part of the coalition agreement. It astounds me that we could not get this past the Green Party the last time we were in Parliament to champion this. This sustainable fibre is back in government buildings, and we intend to do a lot more with wool as we look to get it back contributing to the New Zealand economy. Rural communities, those 700,000 Kiwis, as I've said, it's where the nation's wealth created. We need to return the vibrancy back to that. It is not just farmers or the sharers or the truckies or the stock agents. We want the artists and the entrepreneurs and the small businessmen out there. After COVID, people have reassessed their priorities. These communities are now starting to grow again as people question the merits of sitting 2 hours a day in traffic and sitting in a glass tower behind a desk. People are coming back. We have to make sure we're ready for them. We have to make sure they've got good primary health care, including mental health, good education, good roading and increasingly connectivity communications. They need a police presence and they need access to resources so they can actually sustain their economies. And the Honourable Shane Jones outlined earlier exactly what we tend to do to build our economy. So in this role, I will be a strong advocate. I expect to have a battalion of rural MPs knocking on my door, filling my inbox with invitations. My door is open. Let's get rural communities back on track. Thank you.